with talk about when Jesus, when there's a conflict between what Jesus says and what the Bible says, Jesus takes precedence. The idea that what he said was closest to the truth, closest to God's truth.
I think Suhail is here now. Dr. Suhail is here now. Maybe he would like to take the platform. We're talking about Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and the commonalities between them, and taking advantage of the fact that Brother Hugh is with us. Floor is yours, Dr. Suhail.
بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. I mean, I think this issue of commonalities in general was not really emphasized enough and should be emphasized enough. Actually, the world would be much better off if people focus on commonalities rather than on differences. And even if you start at a higher level, even if you start at the humanity level, there is so much in common between human beings who are members of a large family. They should remember that they are members of large family, and they are brothers and sisters in humanity. So that's even should come first before anything else, because even before we talk about Christianity and Judaism and Islam, which they have a lot in common, even humanity in general. Unfortunately, there are bigots in every community who emphasize differences, and that's what create divisions everywhere, create division in societies and etc. But really, people, they have the same concerns, the same goals in life, and there are so much in common between humans in general. But unfortunately, in every community, in every religious community, including Muslims, but everybody else, there are people who turn the religion to a divisive factors between, so divide the world or divide the society into Muslims and non-Muslim, or Christians and non-Christian, and polarize. And it is always bad for any society to be polarized, even if it doesn't go like to an active war or civil war. It's always very detrimental to society to be polarized and divided. So people really have to emphasize commonalities and then manage differences, acknowledge them. We are different. There are no two human beings, even if they are twin. No two individuals will be a copy of one another. They're not supposed to be. Allah did not create them to be like that. There is no one that is, and no one should try to make someone else like a copy of himself or herself. Now, when it comes to Christianity and Judaism and Islam, it's so much in common. You read verses in Quran about Isa, Jesus, so much emphasized in several chapters, in many verses, praising Mary and Jesus, acknowledging the virgin birth of Jesus, and acknowledging his miracles. I mean, same thing with Judaism. The stories of Moses, Quran is full of them. Now, may not be the same exact versions, but that tells you that even the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, same, praised by all three religions. So we're talking about people acknowledging the same prophets, especially from Muslim perspective, acknowledging all previous messengers and prophets. And so much in common, even in the teachings. in the teaching of the religion. There is so much in common. But again, it's always politics that uses religion to advance political agenda. And we end up in wars and we end up in division, etc. Most of even wars that they look on the surface like religious, if you look deep, they're political and economic. But religion was used. Religion was used there as to mobilize people and it's again, I'm for emphasizing commonalities between all human beings. That's the first level. Then between all the citizens of the same country, regardless of their religion. That's the second level. And then even stronger commonalities between the Judaism and Christianity and Islam. And people, they have to accept this fact of that the human being has multiple identities. Each one of us is at the intersection of number of identities. And it's very bad and very wrong for one of those identities to take over and ignore all the rest. I mean, you are a human being. You are a citizen. You live in a certain neighborhood. You perform certain job, and therefore there is a circle in which you intersect with other people who are in the same field, like you, same career. So we're talking about neighborhood, profession. You have some interest where you intersect with others. Like you want to volunteer in a certain, you are interested in the environment, you are interested in charitable work, you find yourself working with others. You have maybe some hobby and you find yourself meeting with others. So we have really to, and this is easier said than done, because this, unfortunately, there are groups and there are people whose agenda goes the opposite direction, which is to emphasize one identity and ignore the rest. That we are white, or we are American, or we are Christian, or etc. And then, but that should not be the case, and that exists even in Muslim countries nowadays. There are people who make their partisan membership in a party as their identity, ignoring everything else. So they may that can destroy their relationship with their neighbors, their relationship with their even cousins. Why? Because they don't belong to the same party. And these are especially parties that are based on ideology. Parties that are based on ideology, people who join them, it becomes an alternative identity. They forget about their national identity, they forget about their human identity, they forget about everything else. And that becomes a criterion. If you are with us in the party, or you're not with us. So the world is divided into two categories. People who are with you in the movement or jama'ah or community or party, and people who are not with you, and that's extremely bad. I like this point of the dire need to emphasize commonalities in this world so that we can counteract. There is a trend, you can see it in Europe, you can see it here. There is a trend of polarizing people and dividing people and emphasizing either ethnicity or nationality or religion, and then classifying that there is a good religion, bad religion, good ethnicity, bad ethnicity, good people, bad people, and that should never be the case. People, as we are told in Quran, should be evaluated or should evaluate themselves, not based on who they are, based on what they do. What did you contribute? What is your contribution to humanity? Not who you are. Who you are does not matter. The Quran was very clear when it says كنتم خير أمة أخرجت الناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر, that you are the best community sent to humanity. That's by itself tells you that you were sent to serve, not to serve yourself or your and then confirms that by saying what gives you that special status, it's not who you are, it's what you do. It's that mission of promoting everything that is good and working against anything that is evil or detrimental. That's what makes you special. You don't do that, then you lose that special status. Very simple. You are not the chosen people. That's the language of the Quran. إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. ناسنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. That Allah
the noblest among you, among you are those who are God conscious.
Yeah.
Or aware of God all the time.
Yeah. So
the covenant is between God and those who fulfill the covenant.
It's an amazing verse. Starts by saying that, first of all, reminding us that we all belong to one family. We are all members of one family. We were created from one pair of male and female. And then goes to say, we created you, we made you different so that you get to know each other.
Yes.
Not to fight each other or not to force everybody to be like you. No, you were made different so that you get to know each other. And then at the end says that the noblest amongst you are the ones who have the more mindful and conscious of God. So,
and Sheikh, the previous ayat says وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ,
which وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ even was mentioned after Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar.
Yeah, so if you look commonality between the two verses, the iman wa taqwa is emphasized, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So faith, but we should stay away from judging people. It is not our job. Everybody who understands the Quran, the message of Quran is very clear that you are a witness, not a judge. You are a witness. You are supposed to tell people what the message that you received. It's like mailman or mail person. You just deliver it. What they do with it, that's none of your business. Quran is so clear about it. That's why Quran is full of verses that encourage people to accept the message and warn them against rejecting it. But that's not for you. It's for you to tell them, go read the Quran, and then when they read it, they will see the consequences of accepting the message and rejecting it, and then it's going to be between them and Allah. إِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغُ. Exclusively your role, Prophet Muhammad, is to deliver the message. If that was meant, yes.
The question is, are you telling me that my job is not to go and convert the world?
Absolutely. It's not our job to convert. It's not our job to judge. And this can change so much in the world if it is accepted by all religions, that it's not your job to convert. It's not your job to judge. Your job is to be a witness, and the witness will say what they know. They don't judge. The judge is Allah. إِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغُ وَعَلَيْنَا الْحِسَابُ. This is something that Allah reserved for himself. Leave it for him.
What is balagh?
It's to convey the message.
Let's
Balagh is to
please.
Balagh is to deliver the message.
Which
Deliver the
message?
message. Deliver the
بلغي
message.
ولو آية ولو بالآية. So what does
Hmm?
that?
بلغوا عني ولو آية.
Yeah. Deliver the message in the best possible way, and the best possible way is by example.
And be the change you're calling for.
Yeah, be the change you want to see in the world. So you study Quran, you embody it, and people will see it in your behavior. And then when you talk, when you deliver the message, there is that consistency between what you do and what you say. And that's very powerful, because if you say things that are not backed up by your behavior, the message will be very weak.
Exactly. Dr. Suhail, I like to usually go to the basics. Muslims in general forget that in order to understand what the Quran is telling us, we have to understand those Arabic words by going to their roots. I said this before, and I can repeat it maybe every week, and we still need to repeat it even more. Islam and Muslim have the same root. Sin, lam, mim, silm. It means peace. And Islam means if'al, means to put peace into action. That makes every Muslim mission is to be a peacemaker on earth. Being a peacemaker has to be an example first. The example that you're talking about, each one of us need to be the example to his family, to his neighborhood, to his society, and then people will see it and believe maybe what we're saying. People don't read the Quran, they read us. We are Islam to them. We are the Quran. My neighbors are not going to go and read the Quran. They look at my behavior. If I'm nice in what I'm doing, then they believe that this guy is following a good religion. Otherwise, they only hear what the media is telling them about Islam. Thank you.
That's true. That's true. And just the verses that we mentioned, and I'm sure there are some similar verses in other books. The verses we mentioned, they are a recipe for peacemaking. When you emphasize the fact that you are a member of the same family, that's a very powerful message of peace.
Yes.
Because you can't expect a war within a family. So when this is emphasized, like you are all members of a large family, and you have one pair of parents, that's a very powerful message of peace. When you rule out this idea of judgmental attitude, because most problems starts with that judgmental attitude. When a group of people appoint themselves judges for others or think they are better than others, and this started with the shaitan from their ana khayrun minhu. Why you don't obey God? Because I'm better than him. I'm better than Adam. This is, if you think about it, this sentence was behind many, if not most, of the wars that took place in the history of humanity. Religious wars, or, for example, occupation. Why would the people or country go and occupy others? Because they think they're better than them. And we know this slogan of civilizing them. We're going, like the British and the French and the others, we're going to civilize them. Why? Because we are better than them. Hitler and the Nazis, that's the whole idea. It's their race or their ethnicity is better than others, so that gives them the right to go and do whatever they want. Zionist movement, same. That's the roots of it. The roots of it that, well, how can you allow yourself to go and kick people out of their land and take it from them if you don't think that you are better than them? This satanic statement is behind so many problems, even within the society itself. I'm sure you were hearing sometimes in political speeches statements that are racist, that basically denigrate or look down at others. So it's a terrible idea. And Islam took care of it from the roots, that never think that you are better than others because of who you are. Never think that God was going to help you just because you are Muslim. That's not how it works. It was made clear that you will gain a special status because of your God consciousness and because of your action, not because you claim to be Muslim or you belong to this ethnicity or this nationality. No, there are no chosen people. And then God's help is conditional on you fulfilling that job and fulfilling that mission. It's not there like just because you are Muslim. Even the rules and the principles that govern the universe, that Allah has embedded them in the universe, they are not biased toward Muslims. Anybody who discover those rules and leverage them, they will succeed. And I'm talking about the rules that govern the physical universe and the human, because there are rules why some nations prosper and other decline. It's not happening by coincidence. And these rules that Allah has embedded them in the universe as an expression of His will, He did not make them biased toward Muslims. So you can see nowadays non-Muslim countries who have justice, have fairness, and they prosper. And then on the other hand, you find Muslim nations or Muslim countries who do not abide by those rules, and they suffer. Why? Because again, these rules are not biased. They work for everybody the same, and then all of this runs against or uproots that idea of any people feeling they are better than others based on anything, based on religion, based on nationality, based on etc. There are so many non-Muslim people who have done so much good in this universe, in this world, and there are so many Muslims who have done bad things, terrible things. So it's really, it doesn't matter. Who you are means nothing. It's what you do. Your character, your achievement, your contribution to humanity, that's what matters. This belonging to an ethnicity or sect or jama'ah or whatever means nothing.
Dr. Suhail, I was saying to everybody before you came that the organization that I founded a couple of years ago, the International Quran Research Association, IQRA, is having, among the conferences we have one coming in December. It's called Jesus and the Quran. It's a global conference. And we have sponsored by the International Islamic University in Islamabad, St. Stephen's University in Brunswick, Canada, East West University in Chicago. And this year we're going to have some for the greater Washington, D.C. area in person. And the rest of the conference will be global and online. I just wanted you to know, and I want other people who haven't heard it also to know. It's on December 12, 13, and 14. 3 days, global conference. Great. And it's to repeat the same thing, those principles that you just got through talking about. And it's very important that we hear from other people. I mean, all these principles you just raised, I'm sure that some of the Muslims that are listening to right now, right here, have questions about. Let's see if any of the brothers or sisters wants to know more about what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
Yeah, so I have a question.
Go ahead, Abu Tahir.
Sheikh, Surah Al-Asr.
Mm.
So Allah swears by time and by the ages that surely man is a loss, except those who fulfill those 4 basic requirements, is it?
Mhm.
Amanu, amilu salihat, tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bil sabr. So do I look at it, those are the 4 fundamental requirements and
Can you,
values?
Dr. Safi, can you translate?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, those who believe and do righteous deeds and advise each other to the truth and advise each other to patience.
Yes.
So those are the 4 timeless and fundamental values for success and happiness in this life and in the hereafter. So my question is, how do you understand this surah? Because Muslims, they look at success both in this life and, more importantly, even Christians, salvation in the hereafter.
This is a very good question. This particular surah is very, very loaded to the point that one great scholar said that if Allah revealed only this surah will be enough, Imam Shafi'i. So it's amazing, Quran, how encapsulates big principles in just few words. Like Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy Anil Munkar. It's amazing. 4 words to summarize the mission of believers. It just, wherever you settle, you find anything good, try to protect it and promote it. And anything that is harming people, anything that is evil, anything that is wrong, just do whatever you can to minimize it. Amazing principle. And here we come to the surah and chapter, and we find the same thing, that 4 characteristics. It's 2 of them are individual and 2 of them are collective. آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. The people who are not in loss are those who have faith, and that faith translates into good deeds. And I explained this in a Jumu'ah. I said a lot of us, many of us don't properly understand this idea of have faith and do good. They think that doing good meaning doing something whenever it is convenient. That's not what Quran means when I say amalu salihan. If you take the Quran in totality, you know that what is expected from you is to do your utmost. So when it says amalu salihat, they do good deeds, it doesn't mean that these people every now and then they do something. They donate some money.
24/7.
Amalu salihat, you have to link it to the concept of jihad, which means to strive and do everything you can, because that's what Quran expects. So we have to take Quran in its totality, that as a believer, you should be working on your faith to strengthen it all the time, so that it translates into doing more fi sabilillah, for the sake of God. So that's, we should know that, because people, they think when they read this surah chapter, they say, Amanu, okay, I have it. Amalu salihat, I have it. Every now and then I do some good deeds. That's not what is meant. So faith, it's a process. It's not a one-time decision. You should be doing your best all your life to reach the highest level of faith, which is وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, meaning you try, not meaning that you just declare shahada when you die. No. اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ. Be mindful of Allah as His due. Just follow the curve. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, meaning, and do not die except, try not to die except when you reach that highest level of surrender and submission. So it is not like some people, if you understand these verses superficially, it means that make sure that you declare Shahada before you die. No, that's not. Because just read the whole verse. Taqul, be mindful of Allah as His due. That's something that is going to take all your life to try to reach that standard. As you're trying to do that, try your best not to die before you reach that highest level of iman. So
I like
that's
to say in the state of submission to reach a certain
Yes,
state.
exactly.
the highest, the
It's a
complete devotion.
continuous, it's not a now, it's a continuous action.
Yeah, Rabbaniyin.
Islam is not a name, it's not a noun, it's a verb.
Yeah, until you become someone who's completely devoted to
Yes,
Allah.
yes.
So that's iman. Amal salih, good deeds. What is meant in this verse also, if you understand the message of the Quran, you know that what is expected, it is not convenient good deeds that you do them every now and then. That's not. It's the good deeds that is coming out of commitment, that someone who wakes up every day thinking about what else I can do for the sake of God, and then they hold themselves accountable at night. Oh, today was good, or today I could have done better, etc. And then these are the two individuals. So someone who's striving to reach the highest level of faith, and someone who's striving to do the maximum possible for the sake of God. Then comes tawasaw bil haqq, tawasaw bil sabr. It's so amazing. Again, 4 words. These people, those who are not in loss, they remind one another of truth. And that's a very loaded word. Meaning, they remind one another of faith. They remind one another of the Day of Judgment. They remind one another of their mission. They remind one another of the need for tazkiyah and self-development. They remind, it's just, Quran put it, tawasaw bil haqq. So general, so broad, that you can put so many things under that. It's like the word taqwa, so loaded, including love of Allah and the gratitude and dependence and everything, every aspect of your relationship with Allah can be put under taqwa. And here we have tawasaw bil haqq. Someone, people who, when they meet, they share knowledge with one another. When they meet, they remind each other of their obligations and their duty. Like each one is a mirror for the other. It's one mir'atu akhi, that you are the mirror for. And then, as you're doing this, because this mission is very demanding, tawasaw bil sabr, they form a support group. They support one another because they are committed to a huge mission, and it requires that support. So, like Luqman alayhi salam said, يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانهى عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك. It's a very similar, by the way, very parallel, these two, because إقامة الصلاة, that's symbol of your individual duties, and then the mission, and then patience. And here tawasaw bil haqq, they remind one another of their duty, their mission, their obligation, etc., and then they support each other. So it's really, I mean, Shafi'i, I think he had a point when he said that this encapsulates almost the message of Quran. It's like the Shahada, encapsulates Islam. If you want to write a book about Islam, the title, it's Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah, you will find everything there. Everything in Islam. And that's what the Arabs, because they mastered the Arabic language, that's what they understood from day one, that this is big commitment. And that's why those who made that commitment, they took it very seriously, and those who fought, those who rejected the message, they also fought it very seriously, because they knew that this is not a simple statement or a phrase that you say. This is transformation of an individual, because again, the Shahada encapsulates all Islam. The Fatiha encapsulates the Quran. Surah Al-Asr encapsulates also the criteria for people to avoid being in loss.
Sister Amina, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Suhail. I still need some clarity regarding dawah. So, I want to understand it in terms of us as followers of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he reached out to others, and frequently from the Sira we see him inviting people. I invite you to my Lord and accept me, and that was his duty. So what I'm getting is, for us as Muslim, our duty is not, like you said, it's not to convert. It's to work on ourselves and be the best and transform ourselves, and that's how we spread the message. And in what does maybe from the hadith, how do we interpret this? I think there are some hadith that talks about dawah, and there are some verses like, this is my way, I invite to Allah with, there are some verses talking about that. And like, I think one of the very famous verses that invite others with wisdom and beautiful preaching. So like, how do we interpret all this? And like, if you have family members who are not Muslim, do you bring the issue, or is it necessary to teach them about Islam, or we just live together in peace, and if they want, okay, if they don't want, it's fine, it's none of our business?
This is a big question, and unfortunately, it's also, some people misunderstand this idea of da'wah. They associate it with converting and judging, which has nothing to do. I would say a couple of things.
Brother Suhail, just to be more specific, we don't judge, we don't harass, we don't convert, but should we convey the message?
How do we?
I'm coming. Good, I'm coming to that. So, as a Muslim, your first prime responsibility is to develop yourself into a role model and a good ambassador of Islam, the best ambassador of Islam. That's your prime responsibility. And no da'wah can be done without this. So if you don't do this part, or if you're not involved in self-development to represent Islam in the best possible way, in your behavior, in your action and interaction with people, you'd better forget about da'wah, because you're going to do more harm than good. If your behavior is not consistent with the message of Islam, it's not going to help. So first prime responsibility is to work on yourself, to develop yourself into a role model, the best representative of Islam, the best ambassador of Islam, and the best version of yourself. That opens the door for you to do da'wah. But without this, there is no, things will stop there. That's number one. Number two, you have to be compassionate. Otherwise, don't do da'wah. Da'wah has to come, calling people or inviting people to Islam has to come out of caring about them and out of compassion. Read the story of all the prophets and their conversation with people. You will find it so compassionate. Inni lakum nasihun amin. Inni akhafu alaykum. It's coming out of caring about people and wishing. لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم. Someone who feels your pain, someone who wants to see you successful. All of this is compassion. So if an individual does not have that compassion toward a human being, if there is a Muslim or someone who belongs to any religion who still see that there are people who they are better than others, and take that route of judging others, then the da'wah will stop there. There is no da'wah with judgment. There is da'wah with compassion. So one, work on yourself, and that's continuous work. Number two, always remember when you see an individual in the street or at work, whatever, that this is your brother or this is your sister in humanity. And you should be caring about, especially if they are your neighbor and if there are more commonalities. But even if there is no commonality, it's still, if you're not looking at those as your brothers and sisters, you'd better do no da'wah, because the da'wah without compassion will not click. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's what John Maxwell said, one of his rules. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Number two. Number three, if you want to do da'wah, you have to be in the business of outreach, building relationships, because that's the only way you can convey the message. The message needs a vehicle. The vehicle is the relationship. Because if you are a stranger to somebody, then people are not willing to listen to you. So when the da'wah opportunity will be created, when you have those relationships. And some Muslims, unfortunately, they use the excuse saying that because we cannot be in parties or in places where there is alcohol or there is this and that, so they cut themselves out and isolate themselves completely at work and at neighborhood, etc. That's not an excuse, because people here respect that. And I saw it in the university, I saw it everywhere, that when you say that, then I don't do this or I don't attend, they accommodate you. They want you to be there. So don't take that as an excuse to isolate yourself completely. So now, first, tazkiyah. Second, compassion. Third, outreach and developing relationships. These are the mechanisms for da'wah.
What does tazkiyah mean in English?
Self-development.
Yes.
Yeah.
Self-development, number one.
And then compassion. And third, outreach.
Thank you.
These are the tools, the basic tools there is no da'wah without them. Now, on the side, you need to educate yourself about your religion so that you can articulate it when the opportunity comes. And you can articulate it to someone who is highly educated or someone who has low education level, someone old, someone young. You master the religion. You master it. And I'm not talking about fiqh. I'm not talking about go and memorize hadith or memorize fiqh or memorize Quran. No. Learn, train yourself on articulating the message of Islam in an effective way, even if you have only 30 seconds. Now, we know that we read in the seerah that Rabi' ibn Amir, radiallahu anhu, one of the companions, that we didn't hear about him in any other way except this incident, which means that he was an average companion. He was not even special. He was an average companion. When he stood before the Persian king and he was asked, what are you after? Very fundamental question. Or what are you calling for? And he summarized the message of Islam in less than 30 seconds when he said that God sent us to save humanity from situation of where they worship each other into a situation where they all surrender to God, and from the injustice to justice, and from the narrowness of this life to the broadness of this life and the hereafter. It's an amazing statement that tells you that should be an example for us, or role model, that it's not about how much you know. It's not about the information. It's about learn to crystallize the message of Islam so that when you have the opportunity you will not tell a person, I'm sorry, I don't know much. I will take you to my imam. He will explain Islam to you. That's extremely bad. Because then what you're saying is that you're following a religion that you don't know it. Each and every Muslim should acquire that ability. And again, I'm not talking about someone being able to issue fatwa or someone to know all the fiqh rules or someone. No. We're talking about when you are asked, and the opportunity is going to come. If you follow those 3 rules, it's a self-development, compassion, and outreach. The opportunity is going to come sooner rather than later. That someone will ask, can you tell me more about your religion? Or when you go to pray, what did you do? It's going to come. Opportunity is going to come sooner rather than later. Then you have to be ready. Then you have to be ready when you say, what's your religion is about? You're not going to tell them, oh, we pray 5 times. No, that's not religion.
Sister Asma has a question, Dr. Suhail, before we leave.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose the person. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sister Asma.
Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Suhail, just one question on the first part you mentioned out of these 3 points, self-development, the Arabic part, Arabic term was for that, tazkiyah, right? Tazkiyah, right. So my question is that if we wait till we achieve, certain level that you're saying, you said if you don't achieve a higher level, then forget about it. But I was thinking of Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, that when first time he became Muslim, I think the same very day, with very little knowledge about Islam, he was able to convert 5 or 6 people to Islam. So if we have the basic truth, like you said, not the fifth part and the extra part, but if we have the basic foundational, because our religion is based on truth, with that can't we do dawah? I mean,
you're right, and I didn't say that you need to wait until you reach perfection. I'm saying that these work in parallel. This tazkiyah will achieve something very important, which is continuous improvement, and that can attract the attention, draw the attention of people. But you're right, it's not about waiting until they go hand in hand, they go in parallel. The example of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is a very good example. I use all the time that people should not wait, but we need to know the difference. At the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, people were worshipping idols, and you're calling them to different religion. Nowadays, there is a lot of da'wah that you're doing it among Muslims already, and they need those conditions that they mentioned in order for you to have an impact on them, because you're not telling them something that they don't know, unfortunately. And if you're living among non-Muslim, it's the same thing. If you're interacting with people who don't know about Islam, try to make them see it in your behavior. And that doesn't necessarily take years, people can notice compassion and exemplary behavior even in days. Even in the first interaction. You interact at work, if you're not someone who's isolated in the neighborhood and at work, etc. And if you are truly compassionate and care about people, and you you try to be exemplary in your behavior, and you build those relationships. People will notice. People in jail, they notice the special behavior of Yusuf alayhi salam, Joseph. That's why they came to him. And that's, by the way, the best example of da'wah.
Yes.
When people notice something special about you and they come, they ask you, and then you credit that to your religion. That's the most effective way of da'wah. And I mentioned one example before, a real example of someone who came to Islam because just noticed the special behavior of we were in Madison, Wisconsin, and the brother was very decent, but when it comes to Islamic knowledge, very limited. So he was very average member of the community, was not really like the imam or the khatib or no, but he was so decent to the point that in a hospital, there is a nurse who came to him and asked him, why you are different? What's special? And then he said, there is nothing special about me. It's just my religion. That's what you see is, that's what the teaching of my religion. And that lady ended up learning about Islam and accepted Islam. That's a real case. And I believe that's the most effective way of da'wah, because the cold da'wah is not effective. If you talk to someone who did not see you special, who does not know you, and who does not see your compassion, it's a cold da'wah. You may think that you did your part, but it's gonna fall on deaf ears. It's not. People are not going to accept a message if they didn't see something special about the person, and if they didn't see especially the compassion, and there is no relationship.
Yeah, but just one point I want to...
Wait, one at a time.
So
Go ahead,
Yusuf alayhi salam, the companions of the jail, they said he was like, his demeanor was most like a Mohsineen, so it's very tough to have a demeanor. I mean, just by demeanor, they were able to recognize Yusuf alayhi salam. For an average person like us, I mean, I'm talking about myself, it would be very tough. I'm saying that was an unusual case, Yusuf alayhi salam, I think. I don't know.
At least, I know in this country, it's not going to be easy to be distinguished, because people tend to be honest people. But at least anyone who want to be involved in da'wah shouldn't do anything in their behavior that may interfere with that exercise. At least, I mean, it doesn't have to. You don't have to be perfect, but if you are someone who's decent, someone who's caring, that's enough. And then make sure there are relationships, because no relationship, no da'wah.
Sheikh, can we say that we should do da'wah, but for da'wah to be effective, we have to be compassionate, have knowledge, do outreach and all of that? Yeah, I think, you know what I'm saying?
And do it the right way. Do it the right time.
Because I just do, okay.
With the right dose. Don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Don't do it out of the blue. Like you are talking to someone and say, okay, let me tell you about Islam. That's not a good idea. Try to seize an opportunity or create an opportunity, and don't overdo it. Don't lecture people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Sister Suraya, do you have any question? 1 minute, okay? We are out of time.
Oh yeah, I just want to, assalamu alaikum everyone. I want to add that emphasize on the da'wah with your actions, or the da'wah with your behavior, attitude as a Muslim. It's a more important thing, because when they asked Aisha radiallahu anha, she said the Prophet ﷺ was a Quran walking between people. So he's actually reflecting that Quran on his behavior.
Yes.
What we now as a Muslim community is we follow the Prophet ﷺ in his ibadah, in his act of worships, but we don't follow him as a husband, as a person a father, as a teacher, as a war leader. We don't follow him as a human being and follow his actions. We tend to forget that Islam is 80% of Islam is how we deal with each other. Fiqh al-ibadah, what we call mathal, is 20%. Yeah, fiqh al-mu'amalat is 80% of the Quran. So, or the Iman, or the Islam. So what we did, nobody will, like us, we forgot that, and we focus on the ibadah, memorizing the Quran, which is all great, alhamdulillah. But that's actually part. So by us actually doing that Islam, because it's disheartening my heart that seeing, mashallah, Muslim leader in the community now, who should be role model for us, are now misusing the power they have, and they're not interpreting the Quran, they're actually memorizing. And they're taking advantage of, the vulnerable. They are doing many wrong things in the community instead of actually using that, knowledge and power and leadership they have. So dawah is just be you by being like a good Muslim, trying your best to be a good Muslim. That's itself a dawah. People will come and ask you why you're doing, why you're not asking. Yeah. And you're becoming that dawah, walking between people by your action. It's not something hard. It's not a rocket science. It's just by you being a good Muslim, trying to, at your best to thrive as a good Muslim. And people, and just talk to people, like people, I know some Muslims who isolate themselves, who doesn't want to have no relationship with people outside of Islam, which is wrong. The Prophet ﷺ did not do that. We have to have that relationship, like he said, outreach. How we can involve in outreach? There is many ways. Like last Friday, I was standing there with Dr. Kaska saw me there. I was standing there inviting people to be part of the community. There is opportunities, yeah? There is an outreach, and a pastor was standing right by us from Voice, came to the masjid, spoke to people. They are trying to communicate with us. They're trying, people of the book, to, you know, to fight with us on things that concern all of us, people of the book, yeah? So we have to do our part. As Muslims in this country or anywhere, we cannot isolate ourselves, because the Prophet ﷺ did not isolate himself. He built the country that include everyone, yeah? So we have, we have to go back to that sunnah. We have to go follow the life of the Prophet ﷺ, not just the Prophet ﷺ as a person who is doing act of worship. Yeah, because a lot of you say, oh, we cannot reach the example of Prophet so and so. Yeah, because we can try. We try our best to at least behave, focus on the behavior, in the best people in our homes, and then best people in our environment, best people to our neighbors, best people in our workplace, striving to be the best, you know, and then people look at you. That's it.
There are two categories of Muslims that are very strange. They should not exist: isolated Muslim and disengaged Muslim. This isolation contradicts da'wah, and disengagement contradicts amr ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar. So if a Muslim is isolated and disengaged, is someone really who's missing the point. And to confirm your point, the Prophet was sent as a mercy to humanity, and his manners were perfect to the point that the people in Quraysh would gather and say, okay, what can we say about him? Can we say liar? But we know he doesn't lie. Should we say this? But we know he's not, because his manners were so perfect that people could not find a way to accuse him or find a way to attack him.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Suhail. Thank you very much, everybody, especially brother you. Inshallah, we see you everybody next Sunday at noon. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam.
Alaikum assalam.